Okay, here we go. Hey, Jonathan, welcome to WP-Tonic, New Year's Day version, episode 20.
Yes, Bill, we've reached the big 2-0.
We made it to 20, we're both still alive, and we made it to the new year almost. Holy smoly, let me break in for a second. Happy New Year, first of all. Jonathan and I are going to chit-chat for a while, but this is a really important episode. It's about an hour. We're going to do a deep dive into frameworks. And to me, frameworks are really important. I use the Genesis name frameworks. Jonathan does it sort of native and really doesn't use frameworks. But there's pros and cons on both sides. But, you know, this is a good show. Excellent building block. And in any case, from Jonathan and I, we want to make sure you have a great new year. Also, in this episode, if you're listening on your iPhone, which I hope you are through iTunes, go ahead and press the artwork, touch it. Open it up, you'll see two links. You'll see the first link will be to the backside of making of this podcast. You get to see Jonathan and I on our Skype call. And then Jonathan wants his other video here. He really likes this video called It's Crusoe, the Celebrity Dashel Hound. This is Jonathan, so that's his link. In any case, Happy New Year. Have a great 215, and let's get back to the show. So I heard you had an accident today.
I did. I slipped over on the ice in Reno.
You're ice skating downtown.
Because the city of Reno can't clean their pavements.
I took my girls downtown to go ice skating today, and I did think that some of the streets were pretty dangerous.
Yeah, we're not talking about the muggers, are we?
No. I saw some cars spin out, but I know the mayor.
Well, she needs to get off her ass and get the
Oh, be nice. Be nice, Jonathan. Oh, it's not how you get the mayor to do stuff. We better not send her a link to the show. Oh my gosh.
I could say something worse.
Well, let's talk about the New Year's, and don't tell folks at the collective. They like the mayor.
Oh yeah, they love her.
So anyway, I got my goofy glasses on.
I love her.
She's nice. She's a really nice mayor. Very good. She's going to do a good job.
She needs to get out and clean the roads. So.
Yeah, but she just started. Give her some time.
True.
I don't expect her to be out there with a broom every day.
No?
Okay, New Year's. Let's talk about 2014 looking back. Anything particular? And then we start the podcast.
Anything in particular, in 2014?
Yeah, got MailRite going.
Yeah, that was...
It looks pretty good now, too.
It's coming along.
It'll work.
Yeah, let's hope so. That was a bit of a struggle. I think doing our podcast, I think looking back, the amount of material that we've pushed out, I think, some of it's a bit rough on the edges, but one thing, we're always up for it, aren't we, Bill?
Yep, and we're experimenting.
We're always moving forward, aren't we, Bill?
Yeah, we made it a lot easier. We're doing these, the three-way media Skype interviews are really good, and they come out well.
And I think we've had some amazing guests, haven't we?
We have. You found excellent guests, and we've got some really good ones coming up, too. Yeah,
it's getting better and better. We're getting, I think we're getting a bit of reputation for our madness, aren't we, Bill?
Yeah. We're getting pretty good followers, so that's kind of neat. But, so going on with 214, what are your resolutions? What do you plan on doing for 215?
You said 214.
I know, I meant to say 215. I'm tired. It's been a stressful day, kind of.
Well, fall on your back and almost break every bone in your body, Bill. That will make it even better, Bill.
Yeah. We're changing insurance.
You just don't care, Bill, do you?
You look fine.
You've seen, because I haven't got my leg blown off. You think I'm okay, don't you?
Yeah, I watched Unbreakable. Unbreakable? Do you want to say Unbreakable?
Yeah, you're unbreakable, Bill. I've known that for a long time.
It's over Christmas.
Yeah.
So anyway, tell me about what you plan on doing in 215.
Well, the main thing is MailRite, isn't it?
Yeah, MailRite's looking good too. I'm impressed with the graphics, the looks, the feel. It's getting there. It's fun to watch it evolve, and it's been a lot of work. I know the programming. There's so much at your level, at that level of programming. There's so much more behind it.
It's been a bit of a nightmare, but hopefully it will pay off.
What made you decide to do that product?
Well, that's an interesting question, Bill. Well, I think when you're looking at, you've got to play to your strengths, haven't you? And I know WordPress pretty well. That's I know WordPress very well. And as a publishing platform, I think as a group of content management system, as a publishing platform, it's at its best. And that is at the core of MailRight. We publish email stories. We're a content provider of email, social media, with a bit of reputation management thrown in. But they're all kind of semi-publishing roles. And I've been, the kind of mixture of providing an easy interface with actual content. Custom content is difficult to provide at a price that a small business can afford. So we're not providing unique content, but we're providing content that has value for its particular target industry. And I think it's an exciting concept, and I think MailRight's interesting. I would say this, but I honestly do believe it. I think we've got an interesting mixture there.
It is. It's unique. I'm watching it, and it's going to take a lot of work, but it's definitely looking good. And by the way, just so people understand out there, the business world, you're creating content right now for veterinarians, which could be anything, but veterinarians is your initial target on MailRight. It's mail-right.com, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the next couple of years, you'll see more and more people aiming at particular groups or industry sectors to provide content, curate. I think the main thing you got to understand is that we're a provider of curated content.
Right. Now, have you considered, like I'm doing? No, this is what I'm doing. My first venture this year, after 2 years of really hard work trying to figure out new media, is I've got New Media Gold. But what I found was I learned how to podcast, learned how to do all the media backside. But the most important fundamental element was to have a good fundamental understanding of WordPress. And then I've decided to go with Genesis, which I really like, which you really don't use Genesis. You just go with a WordPress and build on it with themes. I use the framework, which we're going to talk about tonight, which is kind of neat. Or not tonight, but this is New Year's, of course. It's our New Year's discussion because I do believe that frameworks are important. But anyway, the framework, and then I just sent you an email in our first proposal, and I do have a lot of people interested. My target audience is initially people who are running in 216 for Office to get their website up now so they can understand. They can save a lot of money by getting their website up now, understanding how to use it, get a volunteer, and then secondary businessmen do the same thing. And then hooking in podcasting and streaming video through Google+. And that's really what I'm marketing. But that could be the same with you. You could take MailRight and have a hybrid website for veterinarians.
Well, yeah, I think as a startup, one of the few things that startup has got is agility. And I'm sure if I start getting traction in my initial target industry, I'm going to have to pivot to some extent. And alter the some of the offerings that MailRight. But it's basically, I agree with you.
Okay, let's go back on to 215. What do you see for the future? Let's not talk. What do you see is going to happen this year in technology?
In technology, it'd be interesting to see where wearables are going to go. It's going to be interesting to see, the iWatch. Well, it's not the watch, the Apple Watch. That was interesting that they even dropped the I.
That is interesting, isn't it?
It is a little bit. I think that's a little bit confusing, really. It'll be interesting to see where that goes because a few people got, the interface looks a bit messy, which is unusual for Apple. It's really, I think really wearables will only gain market share if the voice activation really starts to work.
Right. It's going to basically work with your phone.
It's got,
the Bluetooth off your phone.
It's not, Siri doesn't work fantastic on the Apple phone. The Google voice is actually better.
Really?
Yeah. You can dictate whole conversation on it,
right,
and it will get pretty well. It has, the technology when it comes to voice activation has improved enormously. It's still got some way to go, but I think the next you've had this new Amazon product. I forgot its name. Where you got this kind of black box in your house, and you can order stuff by voice.
Wow, I know there's a lot of stuff coming out. I'm really
voice activation, voice identification, dictation in general to the operating system. When it comes to the watch, the other thing is it's which I think will continue in 2015 is you're seeing the tablet market being squeezed. That's been mostly due to the new kind of larger phones.
Right. The 6.
The 6 Plus.
Yep,
isn't it?
That makes sense.
And the Samsung larger phones, they really are encroaching on the tablet minis and on the 11-inch tablets as well. So some of the oxygen is being removed from the tablet market. And if you've got one of those large, if they could sort out voice operation and voice identification, probably people would have a watch, and maybe one of the larger phones, because at the present moment you got to link these. They haven't got enough computer capacity to run without a phone.
Right, the little watch. It does very limited functions without the phone.
Without the phone, it needs the phone.
It uses the phone for the backside. It just takes the commands and does some stuff, but the phone. I probably won't get one. I tell you what, I've really upgraded when I could with the iPhone, but I think I'm going to be staying at the iPhone 5S. I've got the latest 5S. I really like it. It's perfect. I like the size, I like the feel, and to tell the truth, even the 6 is a little bit too big. And a little bit too looks too breakable to me.
Yeah, I think also, but it's also it's going to be an interesting year for Microsoft with their 10 coming out. Obviously, they jumped from 8; they left 9 for some reason. They've gone to 10. That has some interesting functionality. I think they've accepted some of the fundamental mistakes that were made in 8. It was too much of a jump in interface design terms, so they're returning back to some of their previous interface design from 7. They're still determined, unlike Apple, who have 2 operating systems. Basically, they have their desktop operating system and then they have their mobile operating system. Windows fundamentally actually had 3, but they tried to disguise that fact and tried to tell the consumer that they had one all-embracing operating system. They're dropping one of those operating systems, and they're just going to have 2, but they're still pursuing.
You're talking about Microsoft?
Yes.
I thought they just basically had one, and all the interface looks the same, whether it's a pad or whether it's the computer.
It still had the same interface, but actually behind it, they had 3 different operating systems.
So their tablet, I thought had the same as a computer.
Well, the RT couldn't run normal Microsoft programs, and then you had the
phone.
Well, no, that was on their lesser powered tablets.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. And then you've upgraded now with the i5 chip.
Well, they still got those lower powered ones. Yeah. Rage, I think they were running on the Rage processor, and they're running on a completely different operating system.
Right.
Which can't run normal desktop Windows applications, and these people are in a difficult situation that bought those, because it looked like Windows have decided to drop that, and they haven't really come out. Are these lower power tablets, are they going to be able to run what is now going to be called mobile? They haven't made that quite clear. Then the actual smartphones, they had their own operating system, which is now going to be run on all their tablets. And then you got the desktop, and yes, they have a unified interface, but they are separate operating systems, Bill.
Right. I was just looking up on their website right now of all the toys and all the different things they're offering. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, we got off subject here, Bill.
No, we did. Okay, let's go back. First of all, let's talk about, so what are your resolutions? And that's it. They don't tell you mine.
My resolutions is to get a lot fitter. I'm walking about between 3 and 5 miles a day.
That's good.
I'm trying to improve my diet. I'm not going to become a full vegetarian, but after seeing how animals are treated in industrial farming and the cruelty that's involved, which is totally unjustifiable, as a moral decision, I've decided to cut down most of my meat consumption. Not to become I just couldn't deal with it to become a full vegetarian. I wish I could, but I know I can't. But I have greatly reduced my meat intake, and the meat I do eat is free range.
Right, it tastes better. I used to have lamb, and overseas, and always is better than U.S. lamb. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's my advice on that diet: stay away from sugar, stay away from white flour, eat lean meats, and a lot of fish. Eat healthy.
Yeah, the fish is the problem.
Nuts.
So because we are a lot of the fish. What happened in Japan, and the nuclear incidents in Japan, and the poisoning of the Pacific, most of that radioactive content has entered the fisheries of the Pacific, and most mercury intake that Americans are exposed to, apart from their actual old fillings in their mouth, almost all the mercury exposure that Americans, and it is quite a serious.
Such happy topics for New Year's.
Fish, Bill.
Such happy English. I will be positive.
I'm very positive.
Here's my I hate to see a negative. So here's my resolutions. One, be nicer to Jonathan.
I'm a business person. I've got a startup. I've got to be positive.
No, you have to. No, you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur. Well, you got some virtual assistants. You're a little more than an entrepreneur. We both are. So here's my resolution. Be nicer to Jonathan.
There's no chance of that.
Like they didn't hear the pre-show. And and continue to work on, develop my product and make a profit. This is completely different. I'm really, really enjoy, and I think it work as well with both the politics with my background and small businesses, and do that transition and continue to do like we're doing. I think we've had some good progress in the last 6 months, to tell the truth. And the other thing too is I'm going to say my favorite thing I found in 2014 to do around here was go to 1 million cups of coffee. They have them across the United States.
Yeah, it's a great organization, and it's one of the better things in Reno.
Sponsored by the Kauffman Institute in Kansas. If you've got one, there's about 31, 32 million cups of coffee. Just Google it. Really enjoy it. Every Wednesday, see you there. Really, some really good people from around town in the tech side. And every time someone gets up and pitches a new business idea and what they need, and everyone gives back good ideas.
There was that English guy a few months ago.
You were there too.
But he wasn't very good, was he?
He was okay. He had your back turned wrong, though. Your back. No, it was good. But I really enjoy that. It's a good deal. It's kind of nice to everybody get together. We work so much on computers nowadays, and you're isolated. When people come together, it's good. So those are sort of the things. My family's doing well. Just turn a profit with a business. Keep on going like we're going.
Yeah.
And for 2015, pretty simple. Health-wise, I'm pretty good shape, but I was in greater shape when I came back from overseas. But get back on the a little bit more lifting, CrossFit for me. And I'll tell you what, though, I spend a lot of time on the computer. I need time on the computers to run this business. And it's crazy. You need computer time.
You just need to walk the dog a lot.
Oh, I do every morning. Okay, so
that dog needs walking at least 4 times a day.
Oh yeah, the crazy dog. Yeah, we picked up. We have an 8-month, 5-day-old lab now, and Jonathan loves Jonathan.
Yeah, it shows it. He tries to have sex with me.
He loves everybody though, but he loves Jonathan. So driving on, we've really done one show, so we're going to do 2 back-to-back shows for New Year's. So this is going to be a long show, close to 25 minutes. Let's get into this very important topic, especially for me, is framework, which I'm a big believer in, especially Genesis. I have Genesis, as you know, and I use Dynamic, which I love, to tell the truth. And I just learned how to do something new today, too, which is interesting. I got to look at my sticky menu. I got the code for sticky menu you can use about any Genesis product.
There we go. You sorted out your sticky menus.
Yeah, sticky menus. So with that, let's talk about Genesis and the framework. So we're going to talk about, I'll let you talk about it. Let me go over there. Genesis, Headway Framework. We've got, you did great notes today, by the way. Wait a second. Genesis, Headway. I'm looking at your notes. Because I saw thesis. Thesis. That's thesis, of course. I'm in prose. What, am I missing one?
We're gonna talk about Genesis, Headway, and Canvas.
Canvas.
Canvas from Woo Themes, and we're going to finish with thesis.
Okay. Well, I've got Genesis down pretty well, but let's start talking.
Yeah, I think themes and what the difference between themes and frameworks causes people a lot of confusion. So I thought we'll try and clear up that confusion or to our best of our abilities, Bill. So some themes are kind of little miniature frameworks. That's the problem. I have a couple. You know, there are some themes that are called starter themes, which are kind of skeleton themes, and most developers have a starter theme that either there's half a dozen that are really popular that have a kind of community. Bare Bones is one of them. Starter theme from Automatic is one of them. So there's quite a group of those. And then you've got something a little bit different, which are frameworks. And frameworks they come from theme shops like Studio Press, who are the developer of Genesis. And what you've got to really see that they are kind of their in-house starter theme that they utilize to build all their child themes from. So it's their kind of starter theme that, and then they've built out all their commercial themes from that starter theme. And that starter theme, because they've got a lot of themes in their theme collection.
Well, Genesis by itself will not, you have to have a child theme onto Genesis. It cannot show by itself.
No.
You can't do anything. You have to have the child theme on top of it. What Genesis does, my understanding, it really streamlines the code, makes everything run real well and fast.
It brings some normality to the madness. Because in one way you could say WordPress core is a framework. It's a framework of PHP functions that enables you, that makes WordPress. But when you go to a theme marketplace like Theme Forest, what people don't realize is one commercial WordPress theme, they're all based on WordPress, the core.
Right.
But the buttons are big. There could be a lot of difference between one Theme Forest theme and another in how all the extras have been coded on top of WordPress. And those changes can be quite dramatic. One of the strengths of WordPress is that it offers enormous flexibility, and it offers enormous flexibility to developers. And you can add a lot of additional functionality to your theme through using filters, hooks, various techniques utilizing WordPress. So one Theme Forest theme from one developer could be very, very different to another theme from Theme Forest because they're all developed by different developers, and they have different standards of knowledge and different tastes of coding. You know, you could be a good PHP programmer, but really know not a lot about filters and hooks or some of the key kind of functions that WordPress utilizes. So you could still get the functionality, but do it in a very long-winded way. So you don't quite know what you're buying into when you go into Theme Forest, which if you're just utilizing one theme for one project, it's fine. But if you're a semi-professional developer or you're a business person that has a few websites and you're trying to maintain a lot of websites and they're all coded in different ways, can you see that it soon gets very messy, Bill?
No, I can definitely see that. And it's one thing about WordPress is it's an amazing tool in itself, but there's so many variables with the plugins. Every plugin, some plugins you have to really work to understand how that plugin works.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much to learn. I mean, that's why you got to narrow it down. And that's where I think I come along, and you to some extent, what you do is I'm trying to take it, pull it in, and say, this is the way for the small business guy, especially for the politician. If you want to do it DIY, do it yourself. Get into Genesis, and then Genesis, now I've got a mixed feeling. I use Dynamic because you can do a lot with it, but it also has all of those other packages that you can buy from Studio Press for $300 or $400 if you're a developer or running a shop.
Yeah, I think so let's start off with Genesis.
Yep.
So basically, what these frameworks provide, they provide a consistency, and they should provide a number of child themes or themes. So you don't have to start from a bare bones. So then you would need graphical skills or some of these starter themes are really bare bones, so you've got to provide all the graphics. So let's start with Genesis and Studio Press. They're the most popular in the market at the present moment, and they're a very reputable company. Genesis isn't for the dabbler really, unless you're utilizing the product that you've just mentioned, which gives a visual interface that enables you to customize Genesis. But before Dynamic was around, you really did have to know a bit, quite well. You had to be an intermediate developer to really work with Genesis, because it's not for the light-hearted. You have to. It has a very extensive library of functions, hooks, and actions, and you really have to study their documentation.
Yeah, it's not for a beginner, but I'll tell you what. In my case, I played around with some basic sites. For me, it's been good because it's allowed me to actually learn. It has code generators in it. Learn a little bit about code, a little bit of hooks, all those different things you're talking about.
Yeah,
but it's definitely harder than your basic WordPress layout.
It's got a lot of function, but I wouldn't, if you're not prepared to do a bit of studying, I don't think it's, unless you're going to hire somebody or you're just going to accept the basic look of the child theme that you're going to utilize it, and you're just going to change fonts.
Right.
And it does come, you can move sidebars around, and it's got widget areas. As long as you're prepared to work in the confines of the functionality that Genesis provides with its back-end interface, but you still get a lot of customization with those restraints.
Yeah.
It's when you really want to really start hacking in, then you really have to learn the Genesis way.
Well, I'm putting some code in to make my very first, like I said, sticky menu. I've got about 16 sites, so.
Yeah. So the prices? Well, like what we said, the Genesis framework itself comes at a very reasonable price of $59.95.
Yep.
But you then need a child theme.
It comes with one child theme. That's not bad.
So it does come with a child theme.
You know what? I would just buy that initially and use that practice child theme. And by the way, when you install it, you don't have to activate the Genesis framework. When you stick in the child theme, you activate it and it activates the Genesis.
Right. Then they have an extensive library of child themes, and the majority
About
of them,
40.
a lot. And you have for a price of $399, which includes Genesis, you have access to that whole library. So its pros, it's very well documented. There's a lot of, it has also excellent forums and excellent documentation, video, training.
Yes, very good.
The actual framework is, I haven't actively I've studied it a bit, and I keep oscillating about, am I going to really start learning it? But it is seen as a very well-coded framework.
Do you have the, I can give you the Genesis. I'm licensed for that Genesis. I can set you up with the Genesis.
Yeah, I might take you up on that. It has a big library of child themes.
Mm-hmm.
What are the cons? It is complicated, but, WordPress is complicated. It looks simple initially, but the more you require from it, the more knowledge you need.
The more you want to do.
One of the criticisms, and I think it's a justified criticism, is a lot of their child themes look very similar.
I can tell a Genesis site from a mile away.
Yes.
I know on Genesis site,
And you're not the king of design, are you?
I thought I was.
No. Sorry.
No. No, you know what? I can do design. Design takes time, though.
You've got great strengths, Bill, but when it comes to design taste, that's not one of your strengths.
I don't know. I'm not a bad artist. We'll see.
Yeah,
Jonathan's got a degree in design, but he doesn't do a lot of design. He has other people. He contracts a lot too, right?
I've got a lot of things on my plate, Bill.
I do like I like the Mail Price logo though. Mail right logo.
Well, let's keep on the subject, Bill. So you agree that all the child themes do look?
Yeah, they do.
You can tell that it came from Studio Press.
They have different functionality. Yeah, it all looks pretty close. But I'm learning how to break it up a little bit. I think with the sticky menu might change it to make it look a little different.
Different. Keep thinking that, Bill. But the thing is, if you want to break away from that kind of Word Studio Press look, you really then do have to know a lot more about how Genesis works. Right. That's when it gets a bit tricky. That's when it sorts the dabbler from the intermediate to advanced developer. Because to break away from that kind of Studio Press look, your development knowledge has to rapidly increase.
Right.
And that's when people start getting into trouble because they want a much more individual look. And to get that individual look, they got to know a lot about Genesis.
Right. In closing, just we need to drive on because holy smoly, we're at 33 minutes. We got to finish this up in 8 minutes. This is a long show. This is a special show for New Year's Day. I guess we can go long. We'll go long because you know what? I'm going to edit this pretty fast. I'm just going to add music and verify. I know we got good sound, so we can go a little long. Right. I just want to say one thing about Genesis before we drive on. I think for me, it's been a really good platform to start. It really taught me a lot about WordPress. I'm learning every day. Like you said, the tutorials are excellent. Now, if you want to start, you don't have to buy the Genesis. You don't have to buy any of this. If you go to somebody who, like Kim Dole, she's got a really good, all built on Genesis, and I'm doing the same thing as she's doing on the backside. I'm learning the importance of course, WordPress and using Genesis for all the frameworks. That said, most people don't have the eyes that you and I have looking at these products every day.
No, yeah. But it's got its strengths. But the other thing is The other thing you've got to be aware with StudioPress is some of their themes aren't HTML5 or using
Right.
CS3. They're not fully responsive. And one of the criticisms also of StudioPress and Genesis is developers say, well, it's adding another level of complication and bloated code.
But it seems to run fast and good. Well,
yeah, without me actually actively developing in that framework, I can't pass a comment. But some of the child themes aren't fully responsive.
and they do have, I would not put anything that's not HTML5 right now, period. And they also have a product, StudioPress has a product where you, like, let's say you had a big commercial theme going, they will go into your website and tweak it out.
Yes, there's a lot of theme shops doing that now.
And they will go back in and really make it like M1, A1. So you go from, let's say you're getting 1,000 hits a day with your business, and all of a sudden now you're getting 5,000 or 10,000. Well, you turn it over to them, they tweak it out, and it's very reasonable at the very best people doing it.
Yeah. Then we're going to a totally different beast. See, this is the beauty and also the mystery of WordPress. We're going to another company called Headway Themes,
right?
And they got what they call Headway Framework, and you couldn't get much more different than Genesis because they're a well-established WordPress theme shop. They provide a very powerful, well-developed page building framework where somebody who doesn't know HTML or doesn't know PHP to any kind of level can really build very elaborate websites, and they provide kind of the building blocks, and they've continued developing this, and it's matured quite well. One of the initial criticisms until about a year ago is that you had to have very good graphical skills because they literally just provided the kind of framework and you had to do all the graphics. But now they're providing child themes, and one of the strengths of Headway is these child themes are much more individual looking than what StudioPress provides. It's quite difficult to tell one Headway developed website from another. I feel they've got a much more individual look that hasn't, like, I totally agree with you. I can tell a Genesis, unless it's been done by an experienced developer, I can tell a Genesis theme a mile off.
Yep.
A website, I should say.
I can tell things are built on Genesis by other people being sold and packaging them all together now too.
Yeah.
A lot of developers.
So they provide this page, this website builder. A one-site license is $59. And then they provide a developer license, and they provide a set of child themes with that. And at the present moment, they're doing a Christmas sale, and they're offering a 35% discount on that $199.
That's an amazing value.
Yeah, I think it's pretty attractive. But so it's pros. It's unlike Genesis. It's easy to use for. If you're not an experienced developer, there's still quite a learning curve if you've never done any kind of web development of any kind. But compared to Genesis, it's a lot easier, and it's very, very like Genesis. It's well documented. They provide a lot of video and online documentation and downloadable documentation, and I would say the child themes are better than StudioPress.
Really, I'm looking at Headway right now. It's called headwaythemes.com.
Yeah. And our one of our guests is I've forgotten his name, so I apologise. from our handouts, Silver.
Oh, John Silver. Yeah, Silver. Yeah, great guy.
Adam Silver.
Adam Silver from
He
Los Angeles,
he
Dino Beach.
develops using Headway.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought
he uses this as his platform of choice.
Well, he'll be on our next.
Hopefully, hopefully. You should do. I've just plugged him, haven't I? And the cons. Some people say because you're utilising this page builder, the code is a bit bloated, and it did have a bit of a reputation for being maybe a little bit slow. I think with the latest version, some of that's been removed. The other thing is you are kind of locked into the Headway way of doing it, but you could say just the same of all these frameworks. And it is one of the general criticisms of utilising frameworks is that in the end you become locked into the StudioPress or the Headway way of doing things. You're kind of removing yourself a little bit from the pure WordPress way of doing things, right?
Right.
You also, because they offer this page builder, it's quite easy to really just go crazy, and you remember the more crazy, the more you customize,
and more stuff, slower.
The more testing is required because you've got to make sure it will work in Explorer, Firefox, Safari, Chrome, and will it work on iPhones, on other tablets, on other devices? And the more you customize, the more you got to test, right?
Right.
So people tend to because they tend to go a bit potty, and they don't understand that you need some knowledge of CSS and HTML.
I'm looking at their child themes, all of them. I'm guessing that a lot of the graphics and pictures come along with them, and you just fill in the words here. You can change them,
or you can change the graphics.
And you can change the graphics. A lot of pictures, a lot of graphics.
Do you think their themes look a bit more individual than StudioPress built?
They look more modern. It's more of a modern look on the themes. A lot more graphics, a lot more pictures. Everything. I'm looking at the architect site right now, but if you just go to the site, one thing that they have better in StudioPress too is their access to all their child themes to look at them, and they look like they're all HTML5 too.
Yeah. I actually think if you had come to me before you had submerged yourself in the Genesis, I probably would have advised you to have gone the Headway route.
Yeah. One thing I don't see on Headway is I don't see a blog site, a blog child theme.
Yeah, I think it'd be quite easy to build one of those in Headway, Bill.
Just it's got to be there somewhere because WordPress.
Yeah. So on we go. So the next one is from Woo Themes, who are well known for Woo e-commerce. They're another very established WordPress theme shop based in South Africa, and they do a framework which is their Canvas framework. And obviously, you would hope that Canvas does work extremely well with WooCommerce, and if you're going to sell anything, that's a bigger attraction, isn't it, Bill?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah, of course. And WooCommerce has got a good reputation.
Yeah. It's a one site. It's unlimited domains actually. For $199, you get Canvas, and you also get a Photoshop file with all the layers that made the theme. For $399, you get the framework plus all the themes based on the framework. I think you've got to be aware, though, that a lot of Woo themes were not developed with their own initial framework, because they built this framework about a year, 18 months ago, and there's still a lot of themes in their library that weren't built on Canvas. So the actual I might be wrong with this, but when I spent a couple of days really immersing myself, because I am thinking of taking up a framework, and the actual library of themes actually built on Canvas is a lot smaller than you think, right? And you've got to keep that in mind. So it's pros. It's well coded, you would expect it. It's well documented. I don't actually think the documentation is as good as Genesis or Headway, but it's still pretty good. But I don't think it's as good as the previous two. But that's my personal opinion. And it should work really well with WooCommerce.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, I think we've got problems.
So the web page is WOOTH themes, WOOTHEMES.com.
Yeah.
And it's, it's okay.
Yeah. The cons, they don't actually use child themes. If you start, they don't really make it clear, but it looks like that even if you get a child theme, it's not exactly a child theme. It's a little bit confusing, Bill. And when they were giving advice, when you customize it, they've got a couple of additional plugins where you put the customized code in. My eyes started getting larger as I read this. They really need to and this is why their documentation is pretty good, but it's not up to the standard of the previous two.
Yeah.
Because this seems very messy to me. And they need to clarify or clean this up. You should have a framework like StudioPress or Headway, and you have child themes.
A lot of their links are going into WordPress.org for explanation.
Yeah, it's which is
okay.
And compared to StudioPress or Headway, they have a limited set of themes that work with Canvas.
How to create a child theme. That's one of their links just sent me to.
Yeah, it's not clear, because if you go into some of the documentation, you have to sign up for Woo, which is that you've got to set up a free account, and then you can see the Canvas documentation. It is not clear, Bill, where all this stands. And I'm used to reading WordPress documentation, and it wasn't clear to me. And I'm not I wouldn't say I was a top diva, but I know a lot about WordPress. It's messy, which is surprising. And I'm sure they can come back and say I'm wrong, but this is just my opinion.
I've got to follow up a question. You say you know a lot about WordPress. Did you spend a lot of time on like WordPress.org, or where did you? What's the fastest way to learn WordPress? I mean, really get into detail. WordPress.org. I mean, there's so much there.
I found their documentation to be extremely. It's a bit like, it's not badly written, but in some ways it reminds me very much like Google documentation.
It reminds me of Wikipedia on steroids.
No, it reminds me, because, if you've got a problem with a Google product, the last thing you want to read is the Google help section, isn't it?
They're trying to improve that a bit. I was looking at some
It's unreadable.
Yeah.
No,
you're that's right there. But they're trying to do some things. They have YouTube, and they're trying to do some. They're trying other stuff.
I think in the WordPress community, it's a little bit of a. They always say go and read. WordPress.org's documentation. When you read it, they know.
So how did you learn so much about WordPress?
I've worked like Pippin Williamson. He's got a lot of extensive documentation. There's certain people in the WordPress community that do a lot of lessons and write-ups. There's about half a dozen developers, and there's half a dozen websites that do a lot of tutorials on WordPress. Smashing Magazine. There's half a dozen of them that provide. Lynda.com. I've spent many hours learning from Lynda.com.
Yeah, Lynda's very good. Now, do you just subscribe from time to time?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lynda's very good. You turn it on for a month, off for a month.
Yeah. So, yeah, but it does take time. It's taken me 5 or 6 years. And maybe I should, but
and it never stops. There's always something new to learn.
Yeah. So we've
got 10 more minutes. It'll be an hour.
And then we've got thesis. Now, wow, what can you say about thesis? Thesis is one of the oldest frameworks on the internet. And
thesis, thesis.
Yeah, it's the old one. I would say it's the oldest WordPress commercial WordPress framework.
DIY themes.
Yeah.
.com. That's where you go, I think. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It does things in a very. It's really pushed the boundaries of what WordPress is. What I mean by that is the chief developer. I've forgotten his name, but I can see him. He's extremely dynamic and he's a fantastic PHP coder. But he decided that he was going to do his own thing, and he really did do his own thing. And this, all these frameworks, they've all kind of done their thing on top of WordPress. So when you buy into one of these frameworks, you're moving yourself away from pure WordPress, and you've got to be aware of that. Yeah. You're moving yourself one step away from what the purity of what WordPress is. And he really pushed the boundaries out when he did his thesis. And he's had a few scraps with that and the WordPress automatic. He's had a few ups and downs, but he's done his own thing. And there's a lot of big websites that use Thesis.
Right, Pat Flynn, one of the guys we like.
Yeah, he's a big Thesis user.
He's got a nice, beautiful website. And he does a lot of his own work too early on. Former architect.
Yeah. Thesis is a complicated framework. It's a bit like StudioPress. It has a lot of hooks and actions and functions, custom functions that it builds, and it really has its own Thesis way of doing things. And it's certainly a different animal to Headway. It also utilizes what it calls skins. It doesn't use the child theme metaphor. It's got its own metaphor, which it calls skins. And you can see just by just that it really has its own ways of doing things. And you can get a single license for $87, or it offers a professional where for that $199, you get support forever, and you get access to all the skins. There were, I've never been part of the Thesis. I looked at it when I first got into WordPress, and for some reason, there was like Thesis 1.0, and then he changed. In Thesis 2.0, he dramatically changed everything, and he didn't provide a lot of initial documentation, and that caused a bit of upset. Pros: it's very well coded, it's extremely powerful in the hands of I would say, intermediate experienced developer. If it's done in the right way, it's got a reputation of excellent SEO and for speed. And the framework's been around a lot of time, and it's never had a lot of security problems. But none of nor has StudioPress. I think most of them that come from, haven't had trouble. The cons is it really is, they all do their own thing, but this really, really does do its own thing. It uses skins instead of child themes, and it really isn't compatible to the norms of WordPress. But you could also say the same thing about Studio Press Genesis and the other themes that we talked about. There you go, Bill. That was a bit intense.
I was going to say, I learned a lot though, because I haven't dug into these like I should. I know of them and I've seen them. Kind of interesting to see who uses the product, the Thesis product. You've always heard of Thesis. Genesis or Infusionsoft uses them. Some big names. Because I work with Infusionsoft a little bit. But, on their package, probably no one gets their basic. They probably get the professional package, which is your developer package.
Yeah, that's the one I would go for.
I don't see how they can do that. How can they give a lifetime of support? I guess they keep on selling them.
Exactly, and alarm bells. But, his comment on that is the WordPress every year it's growing at such a volume that you've got a lot of things, and I've only just, we're almost up to the hour, but there's another at least half a dozen really popular frameworks out there.
These are the big ones, though.
But these are for that I thought. But like I say, I think where the confusion really sets in is that all developers have a kind of framework, but they have their own personal kind of starter themes. But where you buy into this frameworks is you want a framework that's got a lot of child themes. So you can offer kind of semi-customization to clients where you take but you've got a big library, but that they're, unlike theme forests, they're all being coded the same way. But the problem is, I suppose I am talking about Studio Press, is yes, you've got a lot of themes and they are all coded on Genesis, but unfortunately they all look very similar.
Yep.
That is a problem. So what would be great would be something like Genesis, where you got Genesis, but you just got a lot of themes that look very, very different. I don't know if that was caused because the themes they've only got a couple of designers, and each designer has a core.
And the framework, the framework is all behind it is the same.
Yeah.
How you lay stuff out. So it's like you put the blocks in the same place.
Yeah, but I was getting there. I don't know if that similar look was caused because they had a couple of internal designers that had their, a designer's always got his own way of designing. Or that look was caused by the way Genesis actually works. I've never spoken to anybody that really gave a clear opinion on that. Was it, like if you go to Born Creative, they were on one of our hangouts. I've got terrible memory for Brent. Was not Brent. Could be Brent Bourne. From Born Creative. They're based in Sacramento. Well, they do all their work's based on Genesis. But if you go to Born Creative's website and look at the portfolio, all their websites are very different looking. Yeah. So I think the problem with Studio Press's library of designs is more that they had a very small design team.
Yeah.
And that's why they all look very similar.
But again, for the basic business, politician, and especially politics, I don't want a politician spending a lot of money on his website. It just needs to get out his platform, a way to donate money, and to update people, a little social media. It doesn't have to be complex, and they need to save their money for their direct mailer signs and their final push. Hey, Jonathan, we got a few minutes left. That was a really good show. It's an hour show. And I really think, believe it or not, from my side, the mechanical side, I've got this new mixer, which I'm a little disappointed in, but it still gives pretty good sound. I just wish it was a little bit more powerful anyway. But it's been a good year. You know what? 2014 was a strange year, but it was a neat year. I've enjoyed 2014. 2015, it's going to be a lot of work for me. So any closing thoughts on this New Year's Day?
It's just that 2015 is going to be a really important year for me.
Yeah, for me too. It's like a turning year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are facing that, but I still love America for all its problems.
We don't want to get into politics. I'll have to invite you on Politics of Success. We can talk about the English view and we're different. We're really different politically, but that's okay. We're still friends, I guess. Hey, I might as well say this. Another thing too is, I've run prior to 9/11, I was in politics, local politics in California and state level, local level. And that's really what politics is all about. I've run for Congress in the past and was activated and gone off to war. But I'm seriously considering, just to show the system that I have to people, what can be done with my political system at a fraction of the cost. Because I've won campaigns with a fraction of what other people spend. I've been outspent 8-1 and still beat people. And I'm seriously contemplating, and I've talked to people, I've got to go out and talk to all the right people. But just to show that it can be done, and I've got pretty good credentials too, is as long as the governor doesn't run, is running for the Republican nomination for Senate in 2016. So I'm considering that, but I have to go and talk to the right people. But another reason to do that is to prove that what I teach actually works. Even if you don't win, I would be very high in the primary, I know for a fact, with a nominal amount of money. But I'm considering that. So that's my big decision. But to do that, I have to have a successful year with our business to get the business up and running, because you always have to be financially sound and have reserve when you run personally for any office, because it takes a lot out of you.
Well, Bill, you're going to be amazed at this, Bill. I'm going to shock you now, Bill.
Oh, I'm scared now.
Yeah. It's actually, we have got different political views, but I think as a candidate for the Republican Party, you would be a great candidate.
Oh, I appreciate it. That's very nice, very kind. I got to say something kind about you.
I'm never going to be a candidate.
You're a good designer.
You
could run for king.
On my mother's side, very distantly, I am a distant relative of Oliver Cromwell, Bill.
Oh wow, very good, very good.
So, but I think because of your service to your country, you went to West Point, you have served your country with honour. You would be an excellent political candidate, and I think you do care about your country.
I've actually worked in a special organization under two different State Departments, the Obamas as well as Bush's State Department, civil military operations. So I've seen both sides. I appreciate that. But you know what? I've got to focus in at getting this business the next 6 months, and I'll do it one step at a time. But that's we'll talk about that in a later show.
Are we going to finish with something really important, Bill? We're going to finish with my fixation, which is Crusoe.
Oh, absolutely. This is a good way to finish.
The dash it.
Oh, yeah. We'll post. This is good. Tell us about it. We'll put the link up for sure.
Well, Crusoe has become a media star. His owner dresses up Crusoe, the Dash It Hound, in various costumes. And his last adventure has been to the Caribbean. And if you go to Crusoe the Dash It Hound's website, you put Crusoe the Dash It Hound into Google, you will find them. And
or better yet, you can go to WP-Tonic to this episode, and we'll have a link there.
Yes, well, we should have the video.
And we'll have the video there. And if you tap the phone, if you tap the artwork, which I forgot to put at the front, if you tap the artwork, WP-Tonic on your iPhone, the second link will be that link.
Yes. So,
tap. Yeah, it's very good. So you'll have to come and watch it. That's a good way to finish the year.
I'm trying to get rid of the advert. I want to play out with the Basset Hound.
Okay, get a little bit of sound there.
Yeah, I'm getting some horrible advert.
Can you actually do that? Oh, here a little bit. There he goes. That's a good way to finish.
I'll just have the music.
Jonathan's rocking out. Hey, I guess I'll see you next. When will I see you next? Wednesday for 100,000 cups. Have a good New Year.
Dance, Bill.
Don't freeze. It's colder than heck. Good way to finish. That's how we're finishing or starting 214, 215.
I love the Bassett. He's such a star. He's a bigger star than I'll ever be.
Well, signing off for 214 and just starting for 215. So good show. It's a long show. Don't plan on these long shows too often.
Oh, sorry about that, Bill, but it was a bit of a subject, wasn't it?
No, this was a very good, you know what, to me, this is one of the most important subjects, foundations of WordPress that we just talked about tonight. So a good one to start the year.
It does, and I think it does cause a lot of confusion to people.